Hi, I'll be doing agricultural land reserves. So what are the issues? Well, government wishes to move ALR up north, and farmers do not want to move up north. As you can see here, these are the ALR that they're disputing about. And then what are the stakeholders? Well, first of all, there's the government, who are for removing ALR. Why? Because of the increasing numbers of immigrants and potential residents, and also to fight rising housing costs, and also to reduce local costs on farming maintenance. Also, approximately 4,993 hectares of Richmond's land base, or 39% of the city, is within the agricultural land reserve, which you can see here, and as you can see here, which is a lot of land, by the way. So, almost half the city is farming land. Richmond is becoming an urban city, and the government wishes to reflect that change by removing the farming land to make way for urbanization. Urbanization is a good thing because urbanization increases tourism in Richmond as well as potential residents, causing Richmond to become wealthier, which is obviously a good thing. A wealthy Richmond benefits instead of increasing funds. Also remember that just last year, government had to cut most art funds and sport funds from its grants. Because of that, many small orchestras, studios, and sport institutions had to suspend its activities, like my own small orchestra, which I was pretty sad about. And then there are, of course, the farmers itself, who are against removing ALR, as usual, obviously. Why? Because it is their land to begin with, therefore it is their right to do as they please with their land. Also, moving may cause loss of business during the long period of transition, as well as local buyers, who are obviously not going to buy anymore because they're not local anymore. Duh. Also, possible unfavorable sold up north. Also, it is also being kicked out of your own house. And they may have a sentimental attachment to the land, like it's a family tradition to hand down. And the farming land that they own may be favorable to a specific crop, so moving may hinder their crop. Also, they'll have to deal with new issues like unknown pests and unknown animals and new issues with farming up north. And also the cost of cattle transportation, and I know there are some mechanisms in farming which you cannot move at all. That's to rebuild it, and that'll take a lot of money and time. And then there are the citizens, of course, who are both for and against. Well, the pros of removing is that due to increase in availability in land value will decrease. In other words, housing costs will lessen, and then your house that you want to buy are not expensive, which was a pretty big issue in the newspapers. Also, leaving of farms will increase available local community activities or services, and there will be more jobs that do not include farmhand labor, which is minimum wage and a lot of labor. The cons of removing is that there will be loss of jobs on farms as helpers, and remember that there are 295 farm operators in Richmond. In other words, that's a lot of jobs. And there will be a loss of local foods and professional help on crop growing, in particular cranberries and blueberries, which is really major in Richmond. One example of this is the Port Metro Vancouver CEO via Metro Vancouver politicians. For example, Sylvester is trying to get rid of ALR for the sake of citizens and urbanization, while the Metro politicians are trying to keep ALR for the sake of environment and Richmond heritage. And then my personal critique. The first one is against ALR. Although the government assures that the land bought from ALR is supposed to be used for local benefit like schools and such, there is no doubt that at least some will be used for port expansion and factories. That is going against Richmond's green vision. For example, Agenda 21. Canada in the past made a pact with the United Nations with the Agenda 21, which is like Ready Summit or Rio Summit, that a certain percentage of the pollution will go away by a certain amount of time. And doing this, ALR removing stuff will be against that kind of stuff. Also, many of the foods I buy come from local farms like blueberries. For example, every season that they're available, I go to Uncle John's blueberry farm to buy blueberries. I will soon turn to pies with my mother. It's like a tradition, and if they go away, then I'll lose this tradition. Also, local food produce helps fight against buyer beware situations, in which you do not know what goes into your mouth. Local farms promote organic produce with affordable prices, unlike Costco, which you don't know anything, and they are pretty expensive for organic food. And then there is my other critique, which is for removing ALR. Well, why? Because jobs will increase, and increase in job availability, more people will be attracted to Richmond, and thus increase our wealth of community. Also, lots of farmhand jobs are no problem because there's always construction, which is like the same thing, minimum wage, a lot of labor. And the majority of the Richmond population loves urban settings. We all cringe at the smell of fertilizer, and we all hoard a new sale and respect the shots we love. Also, I've seen these farms that many are small, non-major horse farms or crop farms that do not make much money in the first place in comparison to major industrial farms. Moving these farms up north will make such a huge impact on small-time farmers. Their loss will only be direct local buyers. Also, these farms, in comparison to Saskatchewan, they're not really much because Saskatchewan is the biggest farming province. So BC is already no competition. Also, look at yourself at and at your hobbies: sports, music, games, dance, clothes, and watching television. Does any of it have to do with agriculture? What benefits you as an individual more? Farms or advanced area communities, right? Also, in the solution to loss of business, we could create land for these farmers up north first, and then after land is secured, farmers could move up north and start afresh while still keeping their original land south until their northern land is up to par. That way, loss of produce will be minimal and they won't go for a year of starvation. Well, what is my final verdict? Well, I am against removing ALR. Why? Because although I'm all for increasing urbanization, I, the Green Ambassador, am aware of the alarming decrease in green sustainability. Agriculture is an important part of Richmond's history. Early settlers were attracted to Richmond by the fertile soils of the islands and promise of agricultural productivity. Therefore, I think it's vital to respect that history and reserve a spot for agriculture in Richmond. Why not just move industrialization up north instead, right? Well, that's it from me. And this is the bibliography. And that's it. Thanks for listening.